Daredevil Born Again concluded its first season last Tuesday, and for the most part, I think they've done a good job considering the fact that they overhauled this show during the Hollywood strikes in 2023. It's definitely the worst season when you compare it to the original series. You can tell the differences between the old and new footage if you've been following all the leaks it had when the show aired. Anyways, I thought it would be fun to rank all episodes from worst to best. Keep in mind, I enjoyed all the episodes, but there are some that are much worse than others. With that being said, let's get started. Easily in last place is episode 7, Art for Art's Sake. To me, this is where the writing started to fall apart from the original showrunners, and it's pretty evident throughout the episode. I am so disappointed how they treated Muse. From what I heard from many people on the internet, he's a great villain in the comics that has powers that stand a chance against Daredevil and affects Matt heavily. In this show, he's treated like just another enemy Matt has to face, and it has one of my least favorite writing tropes, where the villain is somehow connected to a hero's friend. It ended up being rushed with his backstory, and that he learned to fight Taekwondo for 3 months, which is kinda silly for some reason to me. The fight scene involving them was okay, but it doesn't save it from being an underwhelming episode. Hopefully they bring him back somehow, but I'm not sure how they can do it. Next is episode 5, With Interest. Now don't get me wrong, I love having standalone episodes like these ones, where Matt gets to fight crime daily like this and not related to the main story. It's nice to see Miss Marvel's dad in the series to make this show more connected to the wider MCU. However, season 1 only has 9 episodes, which is not enough to feel worthy of having a side story that's loosely tied with one of the smaller villains. Admittedly, the story is a bit cliche with how it's told, but I like seeing Matt kick ass, so I'm fine with it. Overall, it was a nice change of pace, but I'm glad Disney released 2 episodes that week. Alright, this is kinda controversial, but next is episode 6, Excessive Force. I had this episode a lot higher on my list before making this video, but I moved down quite a bit. This is frustrating because I do love the build up for Matt and Fisk as they finally become their true selves again, and the fight scenes at the end were so satisfying, and I can tell it was done by the new creatives. However, it kind of connects to my criticisms with episode 7 that the Muse stuff was rushed. Like, they said he already killed 60 people, which is ridiculous, and that the police would have taken care of that stuff already. And it's weird that Matt doesn't care about the case until Angela got caught. Adding to that, this was supposed to be the big return of Daredevil, and I didn't get to feel it as much because they didn't show Matt wearing the suit, and he was able to find Muse easily, so part of me was underwhelmed in that. Like I said, I still like the episode. It's just frustrating that this was how the old team treated these characters. Then we have episode 2, Optics. This is the episode that introduces the White Tiger, and I think it's a solid follow-up to the premiere episode. We get to see Fisk doing mayor stuff, and it's fun to see him do against what his advisor says. Matt's detective work for a courtroom case is entertaining as well. I think this episode holds back because it's not quite memorable, although it's interesting seeing Bibi, niece of Ben Urich, showing up to try and expose what Fisk's doing. We'll probably see more of her next season. The action scene at the end is cool, though I wish they used less cuts as it's kinda hard to see the movements. And now we have the premiere episode, Heaven's Half Hour. I had this episode lower because I didn't like the opening sequence, and the pacing of this episode felt off due to being rushed, but after seeing the final 2 episodes, I've come to appreciate this episode for what it accomplished. The directors Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson have such unique style, especially with Daredevil's senses, and the dialogue is such an improvement over the original creative team. The Fisk and Matt diner scene feels straight out of the original series, and while I'm not a fan of Foggy's death, I like how Bullseye was the one to kill him, and it leads to Matt breaking his code and quitting Daredevil for over a year. With that being said, my criticisms are still valid and they should not be using CGI for those rooftop shots and during the fight scenes. Enjoyable opening though. In 4th, we have episode 3, The Hollow of His Hands. This is the second part of White Tiger arc, and I was quite impressed with how they handle the courtroom scenes and Hector Ayala as a character. We only got to know him for 2 episodes, but I fell in love with his character because of what he's willing to do for the community. It's such a shame that the original actor passed away in 2023 because he was a great actor. We get to see more of how corrupted the cops are under Fisk, and the final shot where Hector gets shot was so heartbreaking. I know people criticize this episode for the courtroom stuff not being 100% accurate, and Matt revealing White Tiger's identity was a bit extreme, but I was willing to let that go because it's a different version of Matt, and the courtroom stuff wasn't accurate also in the original series. And for the best pre-overhaul episode, that goes to episode 4, Sic Semper Systema. I think this is one of the most underrated episodes in the entire series. The reason why I love this one was because I thought the dialogue was great for almost all the scenes. Of course, everyone loves the Frank Matt scene, which I agree as well, and probably my favorite scene in the entire series so far. But I think the interaction between asking the lady to reduce sentence for the robber and the robber himself was good also. I like that the writers show that he's wrong, but also shows that there's a truth behind how the system works, so that was compelling to me. Fisk suffering through the "We Built This City" song twice has gotta be one of the funniest scenes in the entire MCU. It was so unexpected and looked like he'd rather have Matt beating him up than go through those songs again. I haven't mentioned the Fisk and Vanessa therapy scenes, which are alright, but it's good character development for both him and Matt for what we see in episode 6. Now we have come down to the final 2 episodes, and it was always gonna be at the top for me, but which one is it? Well, our runner-up is going to be episode 9, Straight to Hell. Just gonna say this now, I had a blast watching this. Seeing Karen and Frank was a much needed boost after what Matt has gone through. They automatically make the episode better since they both have chemistry with him, and the action sequences were mostly cool. It was great to see Fisk finally becoming the kingpin he was by initiating his plan to get rid of all the people who do not stand with him, especially Commissioner Gallum, which, oh my god, I couldn't believe how brutal that death scene was. Probably the most violent scene in the MCU. Anyway, I think we know the biggest problems for this episode is that it's really a setup for season 2, which I already knew from the beginning, but I wish they concluded some plot points. Also, this episode was quite rushed. They did the best with the runtime, but I wish the MCU would give more runtime for TV shows like this, and it's unfortunate that the next season is only 8 episodes. Oh well, at least we only have to wait a year since it's coming out in March of next year. But my favorite one out of the bunch is episode 8, Isle of Joy. Holy hell, this was awesome. This has gotta be one of the best Disney Plus episodes they've offered. This episode was all about the return of Bullseye and the constant tension as it will explode in the black and white ball. Everything from the looks to the dialogue was improved over the previous 7 episodes. It made me wish episode 1 followed up with this episode because the previous ones felt inconsequential, which I know isn't true since some of the side characters' positions have changed, but still. We finally get to know why Foggy was killed, and I really liked the reason that he wasn't killed for no reason, but there was always someone behind it, and that was Vanessa. I always thought it made sense in the beginning since while Poindexter has tried to kill her a couple times in the season 3 finale, it's not like she's done anything to be against him. And considering she took over the operation, it made perfect sense to me. Other things to mention before ending off, I like that they give more side characters a spotlight since they were pretty underdeveloped in the pre-overhaul and sets motion for the next season. And man, that whole ball scene was amazing from the editing and music, gotta give props to them for that. Well, that's it for me. I had a good time with this show even though it was Frankenstein's. I feel confident that the next season will be better as the same new showrunner is returning, and so I hope it will all pay off. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.